I was born in this house. I was born in 1947. I was born right upstairs in the upstairs bedroom. This was my grandparents' house, Wilhelmina White and Horace White. And I just love Grand Lake Stream. I went away for 25 years, but I couldn't wait to get back, and I've been here back 28 years. So, my father, when I was little, he worked in the woods all the time. And of course, in later years, he designed ski chalets, and he worked for Dead River up in the Carabasset. And then he got into real estate. And then he was in that until he passed away. And my mother, she was a wonderful pianist, and she taught herself how to play the piano. She was a great seamstress. And Sally Ann and I, that's my sister, we had tailor-made clothes all the time, and they were great. And but in later years, my parents moved to Hamden, which Dead River took my father there. And my mother and father eventually started their own business. They had Nason Lumber Company, and my mother had a fabric shop, and she was the one that got the real estate license first, because she was a smart cookie. And then she got my father into it and everything. And then eventually, for about 4 years, they came, because Mom wanted to come back to Grand Lake Stream. For about 4 years, they came down here almost every weekend and started renovating the house that they had, which was actually my Aunt Lil's house, the one right below the church. And they completely renovated that house. And one of my daughters owns it now. And so they came for 4 solid years, and they pretty much did all the work myself. Mom actually designed it, and Daddy he did all the little nooks and stuff like that, but other than that. And then my mother called one day when my husband and I were living in Maryland at the time, and she said, "Did you ever think about coming back to Grand Lake?" And I said, "Well, yes, but we had our own life down there." But 2 years later, we did come. And Bob had never lived in a little tiny town like this, because he was originally born in Brooklyn, New York, and then his father was in the military, and they moved to Maryland. And I met Bob when I got a job. I went to college for 2 years over in Machias. I had wanted to become an English teacher. And then I wanted to do something else. So I got a job. My mother heard something on the radio one day when she was doing dishes, and they were taking applications for the FBI. So I applied for that, and I thought they'd send me to Boston, but they sent me to D.C. So, that's where I met Bob at, my husband. And so I was identifying fingerprints is what all of us, there were tons of us young people there doing that. It was great. And so then he was getting ready to go in the military, so we got married in North Carolina, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Then he went on his way, and I stayed with Mom and Dad till I got back. And we moved and lived in Maryland for 25 years. And I've had all kinds of jobs. My favorite one, I worked at a country club for 19 years, Montgomery Country Club. It's still there, and it looks really good. But then we decided, and then I got into insurance. I became an insurance agent, but I kept my country club job. Couldn't give up all that good fun, so that was nice. But I was an insurance agent there, and I worked for a retired military person he was a Marine. So everything was right on the docket, but it was a wonderful learning experience. They were nice people. And then we moved back here. And I started out at Fenderson Insurance. I stayed there for a little while, but then I got a job at Creative Apparel in Princeton, where we made clothes for the military. And that was my second favorite job ever. I'd never worked in I said, oh my God, I'm going to work in a factory. But, you just have these pictures of things, but it was great. Miss White was my teacher for the grade 2 to 6 or whatever it was. I can't even remember now, Agnes White. And I remember all that. We had Dickie Callaghan, Bonnie Beth. We had Vicki MacArthur. Some of these kids have already passed away. Jackie Brown were in our class then. And they were all good kids. They were really nice. And then when we moved over to the place where the gymnasium, so-called gymnasium, or the workout room, I guess, that's when we went over, and Mrs. Thompson was our teacher there. And then we went on to Woodland High School, of course, and we had really good kids. We had the Milliken, oh, I can't even think of all the kids' names. I can now. Tonight I will at midnight. I can picture everybody sitting in their chairs. We had Ellen and the Milligan boys, and Brenda Newman, and so many kids.
So Princeton High School had already closed by the time you got to
Yep,
high school.
they sure had.
Yeah.
We went in our first year that we were here. Let's see, Bonnie Beth, me, Brenda Newman. I can't remember who else. Well, when we were freshmen in high school, we all got to go to Washington, D.C. and march in the parade. So that was pretty good. So we used to go down to Calais at the, God, I can't even think you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, and march and practice marching every Saturday, back and forth and back and forth. And Mr. Phelan was our music teacher.
How did you get involved with the Historical Society?
Well, I just used to go over because I liked it. And then Elaine Brown, God bless her soul, decided that I should be the treasurer. I never asked. I never asked to be the treasurer at all. I guess she said, it'll help you with the town treasury. And I was like, there's nothing like it. It's totally different. But anyway, so I am the treasurer at the Historical Society. And it's a great place over there. It really is. So I like it. And then, of course, when I go in and I see all the guides in the guides gallery, you can picture them all when you're younger. Yeah, and it's funny when I see their pictures, I can remember so many things that I can relate to them about, and about with them, I guess. But really nice people. And my grandfather, when I was little, I think I was my grandfather's pet. I was a young grandchild at the time, but he had bought me a pony when I was little. He bought me a pony. Her name was Princess, because my dad, we lived in Dexter or Exeter for a while. We had a farm out there, a little old farm, and Dad he hauled logs. He had a horse named Chubby, and it was all the way back in the field. And my dad said, my mother made me this little red corduroy jacket, and when I got off the school bus, I was probably 5, because it was just little. We lived out there for a little while, even though we lived here originally. We were there probably a year or so. He said when Chubby saw that red jacket, he pulled that log as fast as he could get me, because he knew it was the end of the day. And oh, he was a lovely horse. But anyway, I do remember we were there, and Mom and Dad worked hard all their lives. And but anyway, I guess I've lost track of things. But Dad did a lot of hauling logs out of the woods and everything. He told me that one time my Uncle Allie had like a loader up on Bonniebrook Road between Leans and where Leans and the next little house camp or whatever. I can't remember exactly who has it now, but somebody does. It's been changed hands so many times. There was a loader there where they bring the logs down lake and they load them up on the things and take them. The trucks would pick them up, because that Bonniebrook Road, if you know, was a logging road. Okay. And it's in a lot better condition than it used to be. It used to be real narrow. But my dad said when he was real young and he was helping Uncle Allie and everything, and they used to bring the loads of logs right down on the trucks, down over that ice. And he said he remembers the guy said, now Francis, open that door and look. And he said, if you see those back wheels start to go in the lake, just jump as far as you can. Dad said never happened, but he remembers hearing it crunch a lot. So Woodland, that is the little brick building before you get to the little strip shopping center.
It's Merrill Bank.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Merrill Trust, right? Okay. She worked there for a long time. I forgot about that. And she bought my dad a boat, which Bonnie has it in the garage down there now. 1964, I think, is when she got it. Bought my dad a boat. And then when they moved to Kingfield, when Dad was still, when he started working at the Carabasset, she worked at a little bank there, and it was a trailer. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, somebody backed up and took the trailer off.
Oh.
I think they caught him. They just backed up, hooked the trailer up, and just went off in the trailer. It was. I remember my mother telling me, we didn't live here then. We were living in Maryland. She says, "You won't believe what?" I said, my work. So that was kind of funny. And then I stayed there for a little while, up with them. After Ann was born, Bob was still in the military. And when he finally got out, we went to Fort Leonard Wood. So that's where my second daughter was born, in Fort Leonard Wood. Ann was born in Maine. Donna was born in Fort Leonard Wood, and Bonnie was born in Maryland at St. Holy Cross Hospital. So whichever where we were, and that was that. And then we moved back to Maine, but no more. No, absolutely not. But I have really nice daughters. They all are really good. And they all just learn how to take care of themselves. And they all work. They are all very good at, the most important thing, I guess, they are all good mothers and good wives. So what else can you say? That's most important as far as I'm concerned. If you get those, your job is your job. You can go all over, but you can't leave your family. I don't. You can just leave your family everywhere. But
So what did they like most about Grand Lake Stream coming back to it?
the peace and quiet.
Yeah.
Just that's it. Yeah, because when they step at the camp, we don't really have any lights on, and it's just when Ann says, when it's dark, it's dark. But no, Ann and Tom have like 3 acres. He used to live in Montgomery County, Maryland. A few years ago, when Tom went over he had to go to Djibouti. Well, he was already in Iraq, and after 9/11, he got into the National Guard. But he's also a government contractor. So he's been doing that for years. And Ann is a teacher. While he was doing that, she went back and got her teaching degree while she was raising the kids and all that sort of stuff. And but that's what they like about it most. It's just coming up here and just walking and running and swimming and just like everybody else is on vacation. They live here. Bonnie would move here in a second, but her husband has his own business. Can't do that. And she said, "Oh, I just stayed out." She just loved it here. And Donna came and lived with me for a year. She had bought it, and then when she had bought a house on her own. And then all of a sudden she says, "I think I want to come to Maine." I said, "All right, come to Maine." So she stayed here for a year with us. Then she went back to her job, same job. She just went right back to it. She just needed a little break, I think.
Yeah.
And Ann and Tom, they had lived in Montgomery County, but they moved to, I think it's close to St. Anne's County, whatever it is. I can never remember. They keep moving around. I mean, they don't keep moving around, but they've got these counties I can't remember. Because we lived in Montgomery County when we lived there, Bob and I, in our house. And they bought a nice big 3-acre piece of property, and they're backed up to a reserve, so they're not going to build behind them. So, and they have chickens, and Bonnie has chickens. They got them all named. They're their pets, so they have chickens and everything. 6 or 7 children by his first wife. And he had jet black hair. And my grandmother, Nason, my father looked just like her with that blonde hair. And she only had 1 child by her first marriage, but they had 6 together afterwards. Yeah. So that was a big family. Oh, wow. But the other ones were older. Yeah. On my grandfather's side over there. But they were potato farmers. And when my mom and dad got married, actually my father first knew anything about my mother. I'm not even sure he did know about my mother, but he had met my grandfather. And it all had to do with a dog. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he must have met him because my dad came down here in the summer and he worked for my Uncle Allie when he had the lumber mill, and he bundled shingles when he was like 15 or something. And then, because he knew the area, and he and he called him Juicy Howland. I don't know what his real name was, but from Princeton, Juicy Howland. Grand Lake was having a dance. They got a ride to Grand Lake. I think my dad said he was supposed to be going to have a date with Marion. And I don't think that happened, so he ended up meeting my mother.
Oh my goodness.